Let's talk to the Deputy Prime Minister, though, and Lib Dem leader, Nick Clegg, who joins us on the show. Morning, Nick.
Morning.
Thanks for your time this morning. Economy must be on your mind today.
Yeah.
The figures are out at 9:30. We were just talking to an economist, a doctor from Warwick University earlier on in the show, who was saying, look, really, the figures, don't get too distracted with the figures. The economy's bumping along the bottom. That's the real problem, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I totally agree with the good doctor, whoever he was that you were speaking to, that the economy's taking longer to the heel than I think anyone expected 2 or 3 years ago. There are various reasons for that. I think the main reasons are that the crash, the kind of cardiac arrest in the banking system back in 2008 was just worse and nastier and deeper than anyone really realised at the time. But also, of course, the fact that it's not just us that are facing difficult circumstances, but that particularly you've got this sort of firestorm raging right on our doorstep in the Eurozone, and the health of our economy is in some significant measure dependent on the health of the Eurozone, has made things it's taken longer, if you like, to get the repair job done. But having said all of that, I think if you look at what the government's been doing, you look at what me and my party have been doing in government, we've been making sure that notwithstanding those tough times, we follow the right priorities. We're delivering a huge tax cut to over 20 million people on the basic rate of tax, so that they don't have to pay any tax as of next April, income tax on the first £10,000 they earn. That takes millions of people out of paying income tax. It puts hundreds of pounds back in the pockets of people on ordinary incomes. We've expanded the number of apprenticeships on a huge scale, never seen before, to give young people opportunities to get into work. We've increased the state pension in cash terms by the largest amount ever. So yes, times are difficult, but I'm nonetheless proud of the fact that even in those tough times we're trying to pursue the right priorities to get us through all of this in the fairest way possible.
Although the dissenting voices against the policies and against the Chancellor's policies are getting louder and louder, and I heard somebody saying the other day, we're increasingly being held up as the poster child for austerity measures that don't work. You must really worry about that. The cuts don't seem to be working, do they?
Look, I don't accept this as a debate. There always is and always will be. I have to say to you, I think if you actually look at what we do rather than what we're alleged to be doing, I think the thing that you'll find most striking is that we've been much, much more pragmatic, much more flexible. We've had much more room for manoeuvre than people suggest. People say, you're dogmatic.
It doesn't feel like it, though, does it? That's why people suggest that.
No, sure. No, I understand feelings are important, but facts are important as well. Let me give you an example. Instead of sort of chasing our tail and just, remorselessly going after our debt and deficit targets, when we realised that things were not as easy as things were not going as well in the economy as we had anticipated, we said, okay, we're not going to just kind of carry on regardless robotically. We will basically delay. In fact, we've on 2 occasions now we've said we're not going to chase the original targets. In other words, we're going to take more time. We're going to take it more slowly in clearing the decks for future generations as far as our deficits and debts are concerned.
But then when you look at the real things, though, things like your manufacturing, you look at things like construction, you look at things. Retail is a real sort of yo-yo picture. They don't really know what's going on. And the only thing that's keeping you alive, really, in terms of all of those kind of real factors, is employment is staying high and staying quite buoyant. But we don't really know why that's happening, do we?
But I wouldn't sniff at that. And the fact that we've created over 1 million, about 1.25 million new jobs in the private sector, the fact that we've cut the deficit by a third, the fact that we've kept interest rates low for businesses and for households, these are very important things. And frankly, they're things, particularly on the employment front, that other countries have not managed at all. But can I just finish the point? And we're constantly striving to do new things. We've announced this massive new package for housing to give help for people to get first-time mortgages, to provide help to house builders to build homes, to boost the number of affordable homes which are built in our local area. Just the day before yesterday, the Chancellor and the Bank of England announced yet another massive influx of money in the banking system through the so-called Funding for Lending scheme to give particularly more money to small and medium-sized enterprises who aren't getting the loans from banks on the affordable terms that they need. We're giving this massive incentive to people to take on new people in jobs locally by giving them a break on their national insurance contributions. All of these things, do I accept, take a bit of time to work through the system, but it does show how restless we've been to not only kind of stick to the plan of filling the black hole in the public finances, but also get the wheels of the economy moving.
Unemployment is a really good one, because that isn't about time, though, Nick, is it? We're talking about now, when you drill down to the employment figures, what we're finding is that people, yes, jobs have been created, but they're part-time jobs. People are being underemployed. And as an economist was saying the other day, that's as dangerous as unemployment, isn't it?
Really, you really shouldn't, if I dare say it, paint a picture which is not right.
Well, let me give you anecdotal stuff then. We're talking about jobs that are being lost in manufacturing and being replaced by part-time jobs in supermarkets. Now, that is what's happening in reality out on the streets.
If you look at the facts, full-time employment has been one of the really encouraging things of some of the stats over the last, some of the figures from around the country over the last few months. Full-time employment has been showing a strong record, as well as part-time employment. Look, we are going through tough times. The fact, however, that we've been able to create jobs, even in these tough times, I think is a real tribute to everybody. If you look at the way in which we've also in the local area, in your local area, in Coventry and Warwickshire, been able to expand the number of apprenticeships, we've increased apprenticeships by 85% in Coventry and Warwickshire compared to what was planned under Labour. That's a massive leg up, if you like, for those who are looking for work, and is yet another example of the kind of thing that Liberal Democrats are delivering in government.
All right, well, listen, we're fast running out of time. People in Warwickshire particularly listening this morning, and of course they're going to the polling stations next week as well. At night, because of the cuts that your government imposed on Warwickshire County Council, they say we now sit in the dark. The lights go off at night. It's almost like back to either the Winter of Discontent or the Second World War, Nick. What would you say to people listening today who say, for goodness sake, my council can't even afford to put the lights on at night in the streets?
Well, I really think this is squarely at the door of the council. There's absolutely no need why the council in your area should be turning off the lights in a way that almost no other council anywhere else in the country is doing. I see constantly examples of councils not spending money on the right priorities. I mean, my own area, I'm a Sheffield MP. You've got a council there where they're spending millions of pounds on consultants, they're spending £500,000 on employing trade union officials in the town hall for no good reason, they're spending millions of pounds refurbishing their meeting rooms instead of setting the money aside for frontline services. And that's why I'm very proud of the fact, for instance, that not a single Liberal Democrat-controlled council, unlike other parties, will be closing a single library during the course of this year. That's a very good example of how we make sure that we look after people's money responsibly and make sure it's spent on the things people care about.
Really appreciate your time this morning for joining us. Thanks for being with us. Deputy Prime Minister and Liberal Democrat leader Nick Clegg joining us on the show.